Good day, everybody. And once again, we're back together. And this time, we are looking at question 6. We are almost done with our question paper. So, if you have not subscribed, please make sure that you're part of the family. All right, and we are going to get into the question just now. If you have not watched question 1 to 5, we've already published those. Please just go ahead and watch that for yourself. All right, now let's dive into the question. They say, given the function f of x, which is x squared minus 9, and g of x, which is 2x minus 6, complete the table of the diagram sheet, right, on the diagram sheet that is provided. Okay, so let's do that for ourselves. Okay, so they've given us the numbers for x, and we've got the equation for f of x. Okay, let's start with f of x. So which means every single time you've got an x value, you're going to substitute it into the main equation over there. So if we say x is negative 4, then it means that we're going to have negative 4 squared minus 9, right? So this will be 16 minus 9. And of course, you know that if we've got 16 minus 9, that will give us 7. Okay. And we can do that with minus 3. So negative 3 all squared, that will be 9. 9 minus 9 gives us 0. Okay. And if we do that with negative 2 squared minus 9, that's 4 minus 9. That will give us negative 5. Okay. And that will give us 1 minus 9. That will give us negative 8. That will give us negative 9. Okay, that will be 0 minus 9, that is. Okay, and on the other side, we've got 1. Again, 1 squared minus 9. That should actually give us 1 minus 9, which is, again, negative 8. That's going to be very true. In fact, the values that we've got for 2 will be the same as for negative 2. So, again, that will be 2 squared, which is 4, minus 9. It's negative 5. You can do this on your calculator, ladies and gents. I'm just doing mental maths for now. Okay, we've got 9 minus 9. Again, that gives us 0. And we've got 16 minus 9. Okay. In fact, yeah, that is 7. All right, and we can do the same for g of x. So if we take the equation for g of x, we've got g of negative 4, right? So that's 2 times negative 4 minus 6, okay? And by the way, there is another way in which you could do this on your calculator. I'm going to show you that way, okay? And please, I hope that you're patient enough. But to do it from first principles, so we're going to say that's going to be minus 8 minus 6, okay? And we know that this will give us negative 14, all right? So that's negative 14. And if we substitute negative 3, that's negative 6, negative 6. It's going to be minus 12. If we substitute negative 2, that's 2 times negative 2, which is minus 4, right? And minus 6, that gives us minus 10. I'm sure you can begin to see the trend now, okay? So which means this would be minus 8, okay? And this would be minus 6, okay? And this would be minus 4. Let's see, if we said 2 times 1, that's 2. 2 minus 6, that gives us negative 4. That's negative 2. That's going to be 0. And that's going to be 2. All right, so that is what we have, ladies and gents, right? So now, what we want to do is we just want to make sure that we can draw the graphs. That's the second question. But I said before we go ahead and do that, you can actually go to your calculator. If you go and say mode and you say table, right? So you've got f of x there. So I'm going to say alpha right, and say x squared, that's minus 9, and equal to, and I've got g of x, which is 2. Okay, let me write it properly. That's alpha x, right, minus 9. Okay, so I've got both of the graphs. So where does it begin? It begins from -4, and it goes all the way till 4. Okay, so till 4. Okay, let's just say our steps are 1. Okay, right, and there you go. There you've got your values. You can verify. We've got -7, 0, -5, -8, -9, -8, -5. That is for f of x, 0 and 7. Okay, so that's exactly what we had there. And for g of x, right? No, it looks like we did something wrong for g of x. Okay, I see it says -17 over there. 2 times -4. All right, yeah, we did something wrong with g of x. You might have seen maybe when I filled that one out. Okay, so now they say to us, draw the graph of f of x and g of x on the same set of x's. Use the diagram sheet provided. Now, they had provided a diagram right at the bottom there, right? If we can just try to fill it out again. So this was, that was 7. Okay, that's 0. That's -5. We had -8. We had -9. We had -8 again. Okay, so it repeats on the other side, right? So -8, -5, 0, as well as 7. Okay, so on the values for g of x, okay, I'm going to take the proper values. That's -14. Okay, they increase by 2. So -14, -12, -10, -8. That's -6. That's -4, -2. That is 0 and 2. Okay, I just want to verify that our values are okay. All right, now those are the values that we've got. Now we need to plot these on the table that's given. Now you need to be very, very careful, ladies and gents, on this. My maximum value, okay, or rather my minimum value for g of x is -14. So I need to make sure that I can accommodate that value there, right? And my maximum value, the highest value that we've got is 7, and that is for g of x. Okay, so let's try and draw that out. Okay, I'm going to try my level best here. Let's see, how many cells do we have? Yeah, I'm going to try and find just the middle. All right. Okay, and I hope that you'll be able to just follow that. We've got x and y. Yeah, I could have actually done better. Maybe take that a little bit lower. Okay, so I'm going to take my x-axis just slightly lower so that we can accommodate more of the graph. All right, I drew a skew line over there. Right, and of course, in your case, you're going to take a little bit less time than I would, okay? Right, now because I've got 14 for g of x, okay, I don't have 14 cells in which to do that, so I'm going to make my cells, each cell, to be 2. Okay, so that's -2, minus 4, minus 6, minus 8. And in fact, what we could have actually done, because we wanted 7 from the other one, let's see. Yeah, no, there's no way that we can accommodate 1. So that's going to be, okay, that's 10 minus 12 minus 14. Okay, and again, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 8 and 10. Right, so this is going to be x, and this is going to be y. Okay, right, and what about on the x-axis? So I'm going to, just for the sake of us getting a bit more space, going to say, well, that's 1, that's 2, 3, and 4. Okay, just space them out. That's negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and negative 4. All right, so let's try and draw the graphs as quickly as we possibly can. Right, so my graph at 0 is negative 9. In fact, let's start with negative 4. So I said at negative 4, we've got a 7. Okay, so there it is. At negative 3, we've got a 0. At negative 2, we have a negative 5. Okay, negative 5 would be over there. All right. And negative 1, we've got negative 8. Okay, minus 1, we've got negative 8. And we've got, at 0, we've got minus 9. So there it is, between 8, negative 8 and negative 10. Okay, you can see it's taking on that parabolic function. Okay, so again, we've got 8. At 2, it's negative 5. At 3, we've got a 0 yet again. And we've got, at 4, we've got 7. All right. Now, I'm sure, and by the way, I can't keep my hand very stable when I draw these, but all we need to do is just connect these lines as much as we possibly can. All right, and there we go. Right, that's what our graph would look like. Sorry for my lines being squiggly. Okay, and then we've got the other graph. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I know at negative 4, we've got a negative 14. Okay, so at minus 4, we've got negative 14 over there. And we've got, at 4, we've got 2. All right. We've tried to draw this as accurately as we possibly can. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply take my ruler and connect those 2 points. Okay. Right. There we go. There's our g of x graph. Okay, and what we can do is just connect all the other points that are related. They will correspond because this is an accurate graph. Okay, so there's the other point at 1, at 2, it was negative 2, at 3, it is 0, and at 4. So there is your g of x. Now, please don't forget to label your graph. So this is f of x as well as g of x. You know, I think it would have even become better had I drawn a g of x with a different color. Right, I'm just going to draw over it. I hope you don't mind. With just a different color. Okay, need to make sure that I make this as accurate as possible. Okay, there I've just removed my ruler. Right, there we go. Right, so that's my g of x graph. All right, now let's go for it. So there are questions that follow up, okay, that follow this graph. So let's go and answer the questions. Now, they say to us, use the sketch or the table to find the values of x for which, right, f of x is equal to g of x. Where do we have the same value? Okay, well, when x is -1, look at that. Both of them are -8, but also when x is equal to 3, right? Both of them are actually equal to 0. So which value of x do you have the same value for f of x as well as g of x? So if you want to interpret it graphically, where do the two graphs intersect? Definitely at -1 as well as at -8. Okay, that's where the two graphs actually meet. That's the common point. Right, so we can answer that and say, well, this is where x is equal to -1 and x is equal to, we said 3. All right, so that is really how the cookie crumbles. Again, ladies and gents, that's exactly where the graphs intersect. Right, now they say to us, where is f of x minus g of x? Now note you are taking f of x minus g of x, okay, equal to -3. Right, so if you look at this, where would that take place? Where the difference between the two would actually give us a -3. Well, 7 minus 2 definitely does not give us 3, right? But if I say -5, let's say at x is equal to 2, minus a -2, okay, that definitely does give me -3. -3 plus 2 gives us -5 plus 2 gives us -3. So it looks like we've got that there. Okay, another one, let's see. -9 plus 6, so -9 minus a -6. Okay, definitely that gives us -3. So it looks like this happens again when x is equal to 0. Okay, which other one? Yeah, it looks like it's those 2 points, right? So where does that happen? Well, when x is equal to 0 or you can say and at x is equal to 2. Right, so you could have actually just noted that on your graph as well, okay, just to see where the difference. Now, when you interpret it from the graph, the f of x graph needs to be above the g of x graph, okay? So where is the difference between them, right? Where are they 3 units apart? Now, if you think about it in terms of your y's, that would have to be 1.5 of a, so here that looks like 1.5, okay, but also at x is equal to 0, the difference there is actually 1.5 of the division between your lines, okay? So that looks like those 2 points. All right, and please, we need to make sure that we maintain that where f of x is greater than g of x. I'm trying to see if there's any other point that would kind of reflect that. I can't really see it now, so it means that those 2 would actually suffice. Okay, right, now let's go on to the last 2 questions. They say write down, so which means we don't need to work this out, right? They say write down the minimum value of f, okay? Now, what is the minimum value of f? This is the lowest point that f can be. It's definitely going to be at negative 9. Okay, so it's that low value there, all right, when x is equal to negative 9. That would also be the turning point, right? So the minimum value is y is equal to negative 9. And then finally, they say to us the equation of h, if h of x is equal to f of x plus 2. All right, ladies and gents, and all we need to do is say, well, h of x is equal to f of x. What's the equation for f of x? That's 2x minus 6, right? But what are we doing to f of x? We are adding 2 to it. So the equation for h of x will be 2x. Negative 6 plus 2 will give us negative 4. Okay, and essentially that is how the cookie crumbles, ladies and gents. And essentially what they've done is they've taken the graph and moved it 2 units upwards. Okay, right, so that is how the cookie crumbles, ladies and gents. And we are going to be looking at the next question in the next video. For those of you that have not subscribed, please just make sure that you're part of this family. And I will see you guys again next time. Sharp, sharp.